first thing you need to do is be safe. Disconnect the appliance or turn off the breaker to avoid electric shock. Today we're going to be working on a Frigidaire dryer. The problem that we have with this dryer is that it's given a E64 air code. Now the model number it's on the display. In this case, I already have started taking it apart. As you see, I got the heat element there. You can see the heat element is touching metal, so it's creating a shortage. It's ground to the metal of the cabinet. So as I was saying, I already have taken it apart, and I am sorry guys. I apologize for this, but I started recording into I was already halfway, so I don't demonstrate how you take it apart. But if you see the rest of the video, then you're gonna figure out how to put it back together. So we're gonna go ahead and start replacing the heat element. Now always take a picture of the terminals before you disconnect it. Now we remove those two screws, and we have another third screws in the back. Now the drill is too big. The screwdriver, which is a little one, it's kind of complicated. So we're gonna use that little screwdriver or one of this extending screwdriver bit to be able to get to it. You can use the little torpedo screwdriver. I don't know why people call it torpedo screwdriver, because it's very small. So just get the back screws and the whole housing will come loose. That's where the last screw in the back goes. And just go ahead and remove it from the housing. And as I was saying, I put a little bit of long tape in one of the terminals, a short tape in the other one, and no tape in the other one. So I take a picture of it and I know where all the wires goes. In this case, all the wires that goes to the heat element are gray, so you have to just put a mark on it. Sometimes I use a different colors of marker to mark each wire with red, blue, and yellow, or things like that, and then take a picture to see where the wires go. Now we are removing the cutoff thermostat and the cycling thermostat from the housing. Now grab a piece of screwdriver or needle nose pliers to be able to remove the terminals from the heat element housing. Those terminals do not come out easy because it has a little lock on them, so you have to pry them out. Now in this case, I'm using adjustable crazy wrench, but you don't have to remove the dot nut from this side of the heat element. You don't have to really remove this nut because the new housing brings the terminal. So unless it doesn't bring the terminal, you have to remove that nut to be able to remove it from the housing. I know all dryers you have to do. This is the new housing and this is the old housing. As you can see, it's touching metal, and when you get the air code E64, 90% of the time it's gonna be this heat element touching ground, or any other wiring touching ground on the basically touching metal. Now this new heat element, I got it from Amazon. It brings the cycling thermostat and the cutoff thermostat, but it doesn't have pre-drilled, pre-screws the hole, so it's a little rough to be able to screw it in for the first time. So just keep that in mind. Just go ahead and pre-screw before you put the cycling thermostat and the cutoff thermostat. That way it's easier for you. Now we're doing the last screw on this new heat element housing. And now you're gonna go ahead and sit it in place. Make sure everything lines up really nice. Now we're gonna remove the wiring from the old cycling thermostat. Remember, it's good to replace this thermostat because they already been working at higher temperatures they should be, because that heat element was touching ground, so it was always on. So you don't know if this thermostats are working properly or not. So the best thing to do is replace them. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link on the description of this video. This heat element can be found in Amazon with the whole kit. Remember, this is aftermarket heat element, so if you want to put an OEM, you gotta buy everything separate. They don't sell it as a kit with everything. As far as I know, they don't sell it with the cycling thermostat and high limit thermostat. Now look at your phone and see how this wiring goes. Go ahead and put it in place. Go ahead and first put the 2 screws that goes inside of the housing. Now what you want to do is, as I was saying in this part, I didn't need it to remove that knot at the beginning. Just remove it from the terminal, and as you see, it is a terminal and the new one, so just plug it in. Make sure it's tight. There you go, there you have it. Everything is connected the way it's supposed to. Remember, take pictures before you disconnect everything, and if the wirings are identical, just go ahead and put a mark or paint it with a mark. And now you're gonna see me struggling a little bit on this last one because I didn't pre-drill or pre-screw the screw that goes in the housing, so I had a little hard time trying to get this last screw, because otherwise I would have to remove everything again, and I don't wanted to do that. So don't let this happen to you, and go ahead and drill this screw in this area before you put it in place. That way it will be easier for you. See, it took some pride for me to do this because of the space, but I was able to do it. Now bend this back where it goes. Make sure all the wires are secure in place. If they needed to be adjusted or the terminal's not grabbing the wire really good, go ahead and grab a piece of pliers and adjust them. That way they will be nice and snug. Now this is a demonstration how the bell goes when you put the drum back in place. That is the position, the way it goes. I'm gonna take a picture when I put everything back together, the way you see how it's supposed to look. You just have to stick one hand on one side to be able to do this and put this bell where it needs to go. Remember, though, the drum goes and sit in those back wheels, and I'm trying to do this myself, so I am sorry if I'm not catching everything on camera for your convenience, but I'm doing the best I can. I put one hand on one side and my other hand in the other side to be able to put this belt on the pulley and also the motor. That's how it looks when the belt is already in place. There you have it. If you got it this way, just put your phone in and make sure you take a picture to make sure it's sitting on the motor and also the pulley. Now what we're gonna want to do is put this back on. Remember, the way you put it back on is the way you take it off. I am sorry again, I didn't record how I take it apart because my plan was not record this repair, but I changed my mind at the last minute because I saw that there was very little information on the YouTube about this E64 error code. Just go ahead and put all the screws back on, or in your case, if you're trying to take it apart, just remove your screws. Remember, we have a piece here. I strapped this with the panda strap or zip tie, however you want to call it. Remember, when you're taking it off, just put a zip tie the way it holds this up in the air, the way it doesn't bother you when you remove the drum. It has two male to female connections there, and then it also has two screws on the side. Again, if you're removing it, remove those screws. If you're putting it back together, just go ahead and put it back together. That is the harness for the dryer light and also the door switch, I believe. Just remember where you remove it from. Again, always take pictures, guys. Put it back in place, make sure it clips in and it's secure. Yeah, that is for the light. And this other harness is for the door switch. Now go ahead and it's two screws on the bottom. This is the door switch harness. As I was saying, at the bottom, it's male to female connections. They're just connected in place, and on the sides you will see, oh, I forgot to mention this part. This cover was kind of sticky because of this ring glue that it's around. So if it doesn't come up on you, you need to pry it out. This piece came off and break because of that. It's really not necessary, but if you guys able to remove this without breaking one of those clips, just remember those have to line up with the cabinet. Otherwise, just make sure you put those clips in place and also the screws. Remember this cover, this last piece that I'm putting back on, can be a little tricky because sometimes it stays glued, so you need to pry it out. You might think it's still holding by some screws, but not really. And then just go ahead and install the screws that were in this area. Now we're gonna lean the dryer and install the screws that goes on the bottom. I gotta say, this is one of the dryers that is not easy to take apart. So if you already start watching this video, just see how I put it back together and you will be able to take it apart as well. Go ahead and install all the screws on this cover, this panel. Remember to plug in the harness for the control board, the display control board. Make sure it sits right and it sits in place until you hear a clip. There you go. You saw how it clips right there. Sure it sits in place. And remember, it has those male to female connections there. Just make sure they sit in place. And then secure it with the screws that you already have removed. Now remember, this wires has a zip tie, so go ahead and install one before you put the last panel. And we're pretty much done here. We just put in our last piece of the puzzle, which is the top cover. Remember, those have some slacks there, male to female, where that piece goes on top of the bottom part of the panel. It's pretty self-explanatory. Then you push it towards you, towards the front of the dryer, until it's nice and snug in place. Lastly, you're gonna install the two or three screws that go in the back. At this point, we're pretty much done with this repair. Just make sure you secure those screws. Just plug your dryer back in the plug. Make sure your dryer vent is hooked up, and if your dryer has a steamer water connection, then go ahead and connect that back on the dryer, and it's pretty much done. We shouldn't get any more E64 air coats on this model. It's working fine, it's heating up right. If this video helped you in any way, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for future videos. Thanks for watching.